Hi there again. Welcome back to Greek 1. And we'll just have, I think, a shorter, um, perhaps 2 video segments this time because we have a very short chapter. I hope you're well and I hope your families are well. I look forward to meeting many, hopefully all of you in person beginning in the spring semester when we go back to a blended approach, which I hope means that we can have class in person at least a few times in the coming semester. In the meantime, we will have to make do with the virtual version. We are studying chapter 8 now of the textbook. If you have not completed chapter 7 and done the homework for chapter 7 from last week, I urge you to keep up. Don't wait until the last minute to complete your assignments. Don't wait until the last minute to study the chapter, the material, and the vocabulary. And I know that some have not turned in homework assignments, some going back even 2 or even 3 weeks. You must keep up. You will not enjoy this course. You will not have any fun with this course. And you will not be able to build upon this course for future study unless you learn these lessons well. So I'm going to share a different screen with you. I'm going to share the PowerPoint video, which will be here. And we'll look at the correct version and close this. We're now looking at chapters 8 and 9 and just waiting on that to open. Oh, press the wrong. All right. Hopefully you will be seeing the screen for Greek 1, chapters 8 and 9. We're only going to talk about chapter 8 right now. And basically, this is very simple. When we look at chapter 8 in our textbook, and we'll come back to that in just a moment, Dr. McIver introduces the what we call the alpha omega verbs. These are verbs whose ending ends in the dictionary in alpha omega. And the page numbers in your textbook will probably be a little different from this. It may be pages 83, 82 and 83 rather than 80 and 81. I'm teaching different classes and using different versions of the textbook, so there can be some differences. Also, there is a Kindle version of this textbook, which some might have. I don't think anyone in the class does, but I'm not for sure. And KL simply stands for Kindle location, but even these numbers are only approximate numbers. I'm starting at the beginning of chapter 8, and we're going to just briefly look at some vocabulary words from the end, from the vocabulary list at the end of the chapter, but only 3 of them. The verb agapao means I love. But keep in mind, you will never see agapao. You know the word agape now for love, one of the words for love. But you will never see agapao in this form because in the New Testament it will always contract. But those rules of contraction, we are helped to know them or learn them if we know which verbs are what we call alpha omega verbs. That is, the ending, the actual stem ends in alpha. So when we add omega to the end, the endings, they will change somewhat. Another verb that we learn in this lesson is genao. I produce or I give birth. And it is the verb that Jesus uses in John chapter 3, you must be born again. Except we're only right now learning the active forms, I beget and I produce, and not the passive forms, to be born again. Actually, that verb is anagenao with the preposition added to it. I beget, I bear, I produce. To be born is passive. It happens to the subject, and that's what happens to, or supposed to happen to Nicodemus in John chapter 3. But much more on that later. We have two verbs which mean to ask or to inquire. I ask or I inquire. One is erotao, and the other has the preposition epi added to the beginning, as Greeks love to do. They love to add prepositions to make new verbs. So instead of erotao, we have also ep erotao, which does not differ in meaning much from the verb erotao. Both of them mean to ask or to inquire. I ask, I inquire. Now, we're going to look at the rules of contraction as they're introduced to us in in the New Testament. In the textbook. But in order to do that, I'm going to open let's see. I think I have to go back. Let me see what I'm doing right now. I'm here, and I want to share this screen. Okay. And I should have gotten this ready beforehand, but as usual, I forget things. Move something out of the way so I can make this full screen. Now I should again be screen sharing with me, seeing my screen. And just want to mention, like epsilon omega verbs that we learned in chapter 5, verbs with stems that in an alpha, we call alpha omega verbs, have minor differences in their present, indicative, active when compared to the pattern of luo. And he goes on to explain, we won't read that right now. You can read that later. Just notice that with the stem of a verb, I love, or love, the verb, not the noun, agape. Agape is the noun, love, but we are looking at the verb, to love, or I love, you love, he, she, it loves, and so on. When you add the endings that we know, o, ace, a, omen, eta, usin, these will contract. The combinations here are given for you for the chart. And it's good if you learn these rules, what happens when alpha combines with epsilon or eta or omicron or omega. And actually, it's not too hard because either the alpha or omega, both of these vowels are what I would call strong vowels in that they tend to, when they contract, when they combine with another vowel, they take over, especially omega. Notice that when alpha combines with omega, even it isn't strong enough for omega. Omega is the trump card of all the vowels, you could say. So if we apply these rules on the next page, sorry, on the page before, and I'm going to move something out of the way, then we get this, agapo, agapas. Then notice that ace, o, ace, a, that ace, that here the iota has come underneath. Unlike epsilon omega verbs, where you would just have a circumflex accent here over ace, it changes to as with the iota subscript underneath the alpha. So the iota is still there, but just barely there. But you have to include it. And notice we still do have a circumflex accent, which shows us the contraction is taking place. But let's look at that, and well, while we're here, no, let's look at that again. I'm going to stop sharing. Let's look at that again on our PowerPoint screen, and notice, I think you'll find it easier to see what happens if I share that screen with you. So we're going to take another verb that we'll look at in just a moment, and it's the verb horao. Notice the rough breathing. Horao. But you will never find horao in the New Testament. You will only find horao in the dictionary, in the lexicon. I see horao. When you find it in the New Testament, it is contracted to horo. Because in actual speech and writing, alpha is overcome or contracts or combines, we say contracts to omega with a circumflex accent. So all that is left of the alpha is a circumflex accent. I see, or I am seeing, if we use the continuous present, which is better to use. If I want to say you are seeing, horas. Again, notice that ace combines with alpha to become alpha with the iota subscript and the circumflex accent. You are seeing, you singular, one person. He, she, it is seeing, hora, a, o, ace, a. But when it combines with an alpha omega verb, it becomes hora with the iota subscript and circumflex accent. This shows there is a contraction. This shows where the iota went. He, she, it is seeing. Then we have amen. O, ace, a, amen. I hope these endings are very familiar to you. If not, you need to go back to chapter 2 and make sure that you learn these endings well. There's no reason now for you not to know them. O, ace, a, amen, eta, usi. O, ace, a, amen, eta, usi. So, but if you combine omicron with alpha, it becomes omega with a circumflex accent that shows there's been a contraction. We are seeing. So again, remember, in the New Testament, we will not see hora, amen, but simply horomin. We are seeing, or we see, if we use the simple present. Either translation is acceptable, the simple present or the continuous present. We see, or we are seeing. The Greek tense, present tense, tends to mean more the progressive. We are seeing, and that's why I like to use it and practice it, getting used to it in our translations. Hora ete. You are seeing becomes horate because the alpha combines with the epsilon, and we have only the circumflex accent to show us what happens. That is, this form means you plural are seeing. Notice in Greek, we can always tell the difference if one person is being addressed or if more than one person is being addressed. You, singular, you, plural. Unlike English, it is plain in Greek. So if Paul says, you are the temple of the Lord, if he says it to one person, it may mean something slightly different than if he says it to the whole church. You are the temple of the Lord, you, plural. Usin becomes osin. They are seeing. And that's basically what we have to learn right now. We have to learn the rules of contraction for alpha omega verbs. I'm going to come back to zao. Right now, again, I want to stop sharing. And I want to stop the video at this point and make shorter segments. So this is segment number 1. We've looked at the endings of the present indicative active verb with alpha omega verbs. And we'll look at the rest of the chapter in just a moment.